Hello everyone, welcome to Ethics Week. We have Rasesh with us today. Rasesh has been with Fractal for a very long time and he brings a very unique perspective because he has serviced external as well as internal clients within Fractal, and he has a very professional experience and has engaged in ethical practices throughout his career. Currently, Rasesh is the Chief Practice Officer for EdTech and FAA. He's responsible for internal learnings as well as Fractal Analytics Academy and external learnings through EdTech practice. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
So I'll just start casually. What does ethical leadership means to you?
So ethical leadership for me means, do something, whatever you are doing, how would you behave if no one was watching you? For example, when I'm at home and there's no one who is watching me, how would I behave at that point of time is exactly how I would like to behave in my professional life as well, right? So there can't be something that I'm different when no one is watching and have a different face when someone is watching me. So for me, ethics is being true to myself and being true to the purpose of what we are here to do.
Perfect. That's very apt, sir. And in your experience, how is ethics and compliance practiced in Fractal leadership? And these are followed and not just treated as buzzwords that are need to be taken up.
Look, in Fractal, the way this is followed is very simple, right? We trust everyone. And I'll give a very simple example of that. Reimbursement policy that we have is a very classic case of ethics. We've set out a few principles for it, right? If I've spent something for myself, which I would have not spent otherwise, right? Then I should not go ahead and claim it. For example, I come to office, I have food at home. Now whether I am working for Fractal or I am not working for Fractal, I will still go ahead and have food for home. So should I, because I am working from home, should I then reimburse the amount that I have spent for having food at home? For me, the answer to that is, again following the principle that whether I am working for Fractal or I am not working for Fractal, I would still have gone ahead and spent that money for food for home, and therefore I would not go ahead and claim that money as reimbursement.
Exactly.
However, let's say I've gone out for a dinner with a client.
Right.
Now, you can argue that I have gone out, I've had dinner for myself.
Correct.
But here there's a slight difference that I am going ahead for dinner with a client,
Right.
for promoting business for Fractal.
Correct.
Right. And therefore I will reimburse that money that I've spent because it is for promoting the business for Fractal, and therefore I'll claim it. Right. So ethics for me in this particular case is very simple. What I should claim and what I should not claim is just driven by principles for me. And that would be, again, from a compliance point of view, what Fractal does beautifully is, let's say I've put in that voucher for reimbursement. My experience tells me that Fractal would first go ahead and reimburse that money to me. Okay, and then they would ask in a question as to why did I claim for this money.
Right.
Now that is compliance, but it's compliance with trust, right? So it's the trust, we trust our employees, but then at the same time we have the right to verify or ask questions to verify that stuff.
Understood. That's very aptly put. That's a very great example. Now there are certain at times there are situations when people can see some unethical practices. So what message would you like to give our employees to encourage them to speak up and make sure that they uphold the integrity in their everyday work?
Look, I think that comes down to a person to person. For me, if you are late to work, for example, right, I will call that as you are either not disciplined, or you are lazy, or you are just too careless, right. So that is not ethics for me, that is a discipline, or that is a behavioral issue. But let us say if I get to know that you are moonlighting and you are double, you are in employment somewhere else, right, and I get to know that. Now that for me is non-negotiable, because that is ethics. So I would like to differentiate between what is ethics, what is behavior, what is discipline, right. And there is ethics is either you have it or you do not have it. For me there is no grey line, grey matter in between, that either you are ethical or you are not ethical.
It's non-negotiable.
That is non-negotiable.
Yeah. That's perfectly there. If our company had a reputation in one word for ethics, what would that word be?
One word for our company would be integrity.
Okay.
And there are multiple examples of integrity that Fractal has followed over a period of time. And the best example is at the time of COVID. We did not fire anybody from the organization because of cost pressures. Right to the point where we had our cafeteria vendors, right, and offices were closed. So there was no food that was being served in. The cafeteria people, they effectively, if you could have looked at it, they had no work, and therefore legally we should not have paid them. We were well within our rights not to have paid them legally, because they were not serving food, there was no expense. But Fractal went ahead and paid the salaries of those employees, because that would have, that was the right thing to do versus the legally right thing to do. So these are some this is one example that really has stayed with me, where Fractal has exhibited the highest level of integrity in doing what is right.
Great, that's the perfect example I could have thought also. That thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for being part of our ethics week, and thank you for upholding the ethical practice for such a long tenure in your Fractal career.
Thank you.
Thank you.